Deadites, rise up! We've got some new information about the Evil Dead franchise, specifically 2 upcoming films. In this video, let's get into the facts about Evil Dead Burn and Evil Dead Wrath. Let's get to it.
Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn!
Sam Raimi's cinematic baby, Evil Dead, is a franchise we grew up with, and the series tethered itself to Hollywood so deeply that now, even our kids are growing up with a new era of demonic mischief. 3 years after Lee Cronin helmed Evil Dead Rise, the franchise is ready to expand with 2 new movies under its belt. Evil Dead Burn, which is set for an early July release this year, has also dropped its first teaser trailer, and fans can't keep calm. But there's a bonus. Evil Dead Wrath is also set to take the Necronomicon's lore forward in 2028. So, without any more delay, let's check out everything we know about these 2 upcoming movies. Evil Dead Burn, the next standalone nightmare. Following the success of Evil Dead Rise, another Evil Dead spin-off was announced in February 2024, and soon we got the update that Raimi had roped in Parisian filmmaker Sebastian Vanasek to direct the screenplay he wrote along with Florent Bernard. Having been impressed by Vanasek's acclaimed spider horror debut Infested, which premiered in 2023 before reaching wider horror audiences in 2024, Raimi spoke about the young director in an interview with Film's Act 2 and said,
"Because his last film was so brilliant, and I really liked him when we had a meeting together, I thought he'd be the perfect guy for the job."
He's got his own vision and style, and he's made a great movie. I've seen the rough cut of it, and I can't spoil anything, but he's really a visionary. Brilliant with the camera, brilliant with blocking, great
Imaginative mind. I think him and Evil Dead are really going to make a good match. Brilliant director.
The director too excitedly stated, "Evil Dead is like a creative playground, a bold laboratory for filmmakers eager to explore something raw, brutal, and deeply transgressive." The official premise follows a woman who, after losing her husband, seeks solace with her in-laws in their secluded family home. But one by one, they are transformed into Deadites, turning the gathering into a family reunion from hell. Now, from my experience of the Evil Dead movies, I am pretty sure this one's going to be a possession horror too. And the trailer has actually given us some glimpses of how violent it's going to be. We have this single shot following a terrified resident as she crawls on the floor of her house, and people around her are fighting each other or floating in the air. And yes, some are even thrown against the walls, with furniture falling all over the room. The 1-minute teaser trailer ends with her back against the staircase with the title slowly fading in. Now, there's one thing Evil Dead has always delivered, and that is intensity. The Raimi era built Evil Dead on a wild cocktail of horror, gore, and slapstick, while the modern films have leaned much harder into relentless straight-faced brutality. And it seems like Sebastian Vanasek got the memo right and has left no stone unturned to put our poor pink-haired protagonist through the ringer. Interestingly, one of the biggest questions around Evil Dead Burn is which version of the Book of the Dead we are dealing with this time. Evil Dead Rise pushed the lore forward by leaning into the idea that there are multiple volumes, which gives the franchise room to connect the Raimi films, the 2013 movie, and Rise without forcing them into one perfectly clean timeline. Now, the Burn teaser gives us a very tempting visual clue. Towards the end of the teaser, there's a moment where you can see a possessed man landing on the floor and facing the camera. He is quickly pulled into the air, but if you look closely enough, for a brief second, you can see his eyes, which are completely blank. There's no pupil or iris, and they are as white as a cue ball. That instantly calls back to Raimi's original dead-eyed look, but let's be careful here. Until the filmmakers confirm which book is involved, there is no proof that the original Necronomicon is back. It is a strong visual hint, and maybe even a deliberate tribute. But for now, the safest way to frame it is as a theory. Back in Evil Dead of 2013, you could instantly tell someone was possessed because their eyes would shift into that eerie yellow-orange glow. Then, Evil Dead Rise shook things up a little by giving its Deadites cold silver eyes with bloodshot whites. Sure, a few victims showed eye styles we had seen before in the film series, but those silver eyes became something we could never forget. Somehow, it actually feels like this version of the Book of the Dead could be playing with the combined mythology of all 3 books. And now, with Evil Dead Burn seemingly bringing back the classic wide-eyed, dead-eyed look from Sam Raimi's original films, the hype is getting real. The tone is locked in, and we are going to sit through a gloomy and bloody supernatural horror with Deadites sprawling in what appears to be another standalone entry. Vanasek stated, "I want people to feel physically drained when they leave the theater, like they've been through an emotional and intense journey. The ambition remains the same as with Infested, to create a visceral, sensory experience that punches the audience in the gut. That means with Evil Dead Burn, we are getting our senses punched because the filmmaker is about to push the limits of the franchise and wants to put all the horror I have inside. It will be cathartic. He is clearly on his toes with Evil Dead Burn, and even took to Instagram to share pages from the Necronomicon and other updates about the film. Now, those who have already watched Infested already know Sebastian Vanasek's ability to create relentless and emotionally brutal horror, since this movie too revolved around residents trapped in a building with venomous spiders. I guess, when it comes to delivering claustrophobic fear, Evil Dead Burn is in good hands. Bruce Campbell, who is serving as an executive producer for Evil Dead Burn, has shared his views on the director and the film on the Half Picture podcast and said they're still doing previews and things like that, but I'm happy with him as a director. He also explained, the directors who come in, we try to give them as much free reign as we can within the Evil Dead confines. There are a few rules we suggest they follow. Most of them did, some didn't. No big deal. Some are just fun, creative suggestions. We even have our old library from the first Evil Dead on 1/4-inch reel-to-reel tape, so they're welcome to use any of those weird effects and blend them with their modern libraries of thousands of sound effects. So we offer little things like that. A bit of guidance, and of course they can't spend too much money. That's the one thing we're strict about. Play within your sandbox and stay within it. These are the toys you were given, so work with them, not something else. We've generally had a really good relationship with these directors. Sam Raimi usually leads the charge in picking them, as he should. And then Rob and I just try to support them without hovering. I hate being on other people's sets. Go make your movie, I'll see you later. It's been enjoyable, and I'm impressed. The cast of Evil Dead Burn. Coming to the cast of Evil Dead Burn, we have some pretty strong names. But Suhaila Yacoub is who I want to talk about. Yacoub has already brushed against intense genre cinema, including Gaspar Noé's A24 distributed Climax. The Swiss actor also recently popped up under a gender-swapped version of Shish Kali in Dune Part 2, and is also set to feature in the upcoming Nicolas Cage project, The Carpenter's Son. Yacoub has been handpicked by Sebastian, who stated, "I've long admired Suhaila's work in France, particularly in theater. She brings a rare physicality and emotional intensity to her performances, exactly the kind of raw, visceral presence I was looking for in Evil Dead Burn." He also believes that the role will push her both psychologically and physically. Other names include Hunter Dewin, whose most notable performance was that of Tyler Galpin in Netflix's Wednesday. He's also known for playing the troubled son of Bryan Cranston's character on Showtime's Your Honor, and has recently appeared in the Disney Plus original series Daredevil, Born Again. Lucienne Buchanan and Tandy Wright will also be appearing in Evil Dead Burn. The former is best known to many viewers from Netflix's The Night Agent, and she is also part of Apple TV's Jason Momoa-led historical drama Chief of War. Tandy Wright, on the other hand, is the one with the most experience in the horror world, having acted in the A&E series The Return, the creature feature Love and Monsters of 2020, and Ty West's unnerving period drama Pearl. Originally dated for July 24th, 2026, Evil Dead Burn has now been moved up 2 weeks to July 10th, 2026, and I am definitely clearing my calendar for the day. Evil Dead Wrath. The 7th film enters the chat. Now we have bonus information. We knew that there was a mysterious 7th film in development, and 2 months after Evil Dead Burn was announced, there was even more movement in the franchise. Then, in February 2026, the Screen Guild of New Zealand listing revealed the working title Evil Dead Wrath, with production slated to begin in Auckland. By February 2026, Evil Dead Wrath was officially in production in Auckland, New Zealand. And once again, Sam Raimi has handpicked the filmmaker who will be directing Evil Dead Wrath. It's none other than Francis Galuppi, who reportedly impressed Raimi with his crime thriller debut titled The Last Stop in Yuma County. I have heard only good things about this film, but unfortunately I haven't had the chance to catch it yet. But now it seems like I got the strongest incentive to do so. Raimi discussed Galuppi with Deadline and said, "Francis Galuppi is a storyteller who knows when to keep us waiting in simmering tension and when to hit us with explosive violence. He is a director that shows uncommon control in his feature debut." Galuppi shared in an interview with Blueprint Review that, "So Evil Dead's definitely the next thing. And then I'm doing a western that I wrote with this company, Boss Ranch, Taylor Sheridan's company. so we're doing that after Evil Dead. I'm sorry. I wish we could talk about Evil Dead, but there's nothing yet. All I can say is that it was the movie that inspired me to go out into the middle of nowhere and make stuff with my friends. Making High Desert Hell, my first short, which I don't recommend watching. We took a picture. Me, my friends, Matt and Scott, and we tried to replicate this old photo of Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, and Rob Tappert. It was such a huge influence on me. Galuppi is set to direct from his own script, with Sony Pictures and New Line Cinema as co-financers on the project. Longtime producer of the franchise, Rob Tappert, along with Sam Raimi, Jose Canas, Rommel Adam, and Lee Cronin will be acting as executive producers alongside Bruce Campbell. The cast of Evil Dead Wrath. Finally, in January 2026, we got news on the great ensemble Galuppi is going forward with. It has names like Charlotte Hope, who is best known for her performances in New Line Cinema's The Nun and Robert Zemeckis' Allied. She was also in Starz' limited series The Spanish Princess, Showmax's Catch Me a Killer, and received a 2025 International Emmy Award nomination. But you might recognize her best for playing Ramsay Bolton's sadistic lover, Miranda, in Game of Thrones. Then we have Jessica McNamee, who played Sonya Blade in New Line's Mortal Kombat and the sequel, which will be releasing in May this year. Zach Gilford, whose credits include Universal's The Purge: Anarchy, Paramount Plus's Criminal Minds: Evolution, as well as Netflix's Mike Flanagan series Midnight Mass and The Fall of House of Usher, has also been roped in for Evil Dead Wrath. Josh Helmed, who was most recently seen in Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and Ella Newton, who starred in the critically acclaimed serial killer thriller Dangerous Animals, has also joined Galuppi's cast. Last but not least, we have Elizabeth Cullen, who was seen in Gulagong, Diabolic, and The Last Anniversary, along with Ella Oliphant, who will also be appearing in Evil Dead Wrath. Evil Dead Wrath's 1972 setting and retro horror look. In an exclusive interview with Rob Tappert at Michigan State University in April this year, we learned a little about the premise of Evil Dead Wrath. Rob said, "Evil Dead Wrath is yet another great departure. It predates everything. Takes place in 1972. It will feel like a 1972 movie. The director and his DP want to imitate the film look and feel of something that's called Ektachrome 100, which was a film stock still available, but a film stock of a lot of shots on back then, and so it's very warm and very tungsten." Initially, at CinemaCon, Warner Bros. Announced Galuppi's Evil Dead Wrath for a theatrical release in 2027, but the date was quickly corrected. The film is now slated for April 7th, 2028. Holy moly, the Deadites' reign is getting closer. Final thoughts. Alright guys, that's all for today. Evil Dead is more than ready to give us nightmares all over again, with 2 brand new movies ready to expand the story and legacy of the series. I've always believed in Raimi, and given that he has carefully chosen the people to lead these projects, it only reassures us that we are in for some absolutely amazing horror experiences. Do let us know how excited you are for the new Evil Dead movies in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.